Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and try to do a live test. A live test, so I've never tested this before, of the player placeable cams. So I've already tested it in the loader a little bit in the situation. So what this means is that now a couple of things are different. If you see the bottom stack, let me blink it. No, this one. That is now an FPV cam, just like the main camera. It sees what I see here, including the skybox. The other ones don't see the skybox because the skybox blocks your view. If there's nothing there, now I can see more of the screen right there. So as long as there's not all full of objects in that place, then having a little image right there doesn't fully obstruct my view. So a lot of the time, it doesn't affect my performance. But the reason why I put that little camera there is because at the same time as I was putting these placeable cameras in, you can see one right here, I was also concerned with all of these other cameras that I have on some of the other vehicles. For example, if you wanted to show, the buttons aren't working. The different cameras, now I can still have some kind of way to drive, even though this camera is going to go all over the place. I can drive out of that little camera. See how this camera is absolutely terrible. Truly atrocious. If I try to see that. I'm all inverted because I've been flying an inverted vehicle. But you can see that I could fly out of that little camera. Let me just get oriented here. I've never tried it before. This is a good example because now I'm testing it. So now you see I'm getting oriented towards that shuttle. Now I'm going to fly towards that shuttle. And you can see that on the big screen, that would have been impossible to fly from. But now on the little screen, if I want to use this camera and I want to turn around, you know, it's kind of a little bit more possible. So I got to practice that. I'm going everywhere just the same. But with some practice, it'll make it so that switching cameras won't be so devastating. To the performance, because if you get some practice, you can look at that little small camera. So the main thing I'm doing here's a placeable camera. Now you see this camera's not going anywhere. So there is a third person camera that you can adjust the position of, but you can see that it's tied directly to the vehicle. So let me get back over here to let me go fast, where the player is. Where's the player? Where's the player? Player's upside down. Alright. So you can tell I have not been playing this game. I've been only working on it because my controls are crazy. But here we have a player placeable camera. So if I get up and the camera doesn't work while you're in space mode. But if I get up here and now I can see that this camera, I'm looking right at the camera. Right? You can see I'm looking at it. And then if I switch to that camera now, you can see that that camera is fixed in place and I can see it out of this camera. So for now, that doesn't help that much necessarily, but actually some people, they really want to fly this third person fixed camera kind of way. It's one of the cameras that's in Kerbal Space Program, for example, and I know that in some other games where it's kind of not available. With a lot of games, if you're gonna go far, it's kind of hard to manage like a fixed camera like this. So so now you can see I'm flying through the small camera and the screen, and the viewer or maybe myself can actually still see what's going on from that other camera, you know. And I have two of these things going on here. So let me fly over to this other camera. And so this is going to be fun, huh? Because now you can see the drone fly from that third person angle. And so if you're going to go and fly through some hoops, it's maybe not the best way to try to race around, but I think it'll be something fun to play with. Okay, so moving on. These placeable cameras, well, they are placeable. So if I switch back to space mode, so now I'm in placer mode. One thing that you can do is you can get into behind the cameras where the field is, and you can see I got the glowing ring here, right? So now you see I get this glowing ring right there. And when I have that glowing ring, once again, I can connect to it, and I can take this camera somewhere, and I can put it wherever I want. Or I can just get rid of it, and I can place it. So if I place that camera, I actually don't need to get rid of it. If I have it here and I place it again, it just automatically gets rid of that other camera. So there's two placeable cameras, but each one can only be in the game at once at any given time, right? So now if you want to set up a little arena and watch yourself do something, I'm sure that docking will be very hard using the placeable camera, because the docking indicators won't be live during that time. Or maybe they will, but I don't think so. But let me see what happens when I try to dock through this player placeable camera. Alright, so now I'm on the placeable camera. Let me see what happens here. Let me fly down to this dock port. Isn't that fun? Now you can see it's hard to drive when I'm not paying attention. Otherwise, now you can see the drone from this fixed position. And I mean, that'll be fun if you want to try to make a video, for me if I want to make a video. But it'll also be fun in some imaginable future where you could record the player's movements, for example. So the indicator does come up, but I don't know if I'll be able to dock without seeing through that main camera. If the dock ports were more to see from the outside, then I can imagine that. Or maybe if I get used to what it looks like. But I kind of need to dock like this, for sure. So now I'm docked. So then if I switch back to that camera, see, now I don't know if I like that. But another thing that you can do with these cameras is you can move them around like this, and you can zoom. So now I zoomed in, and now if I move around, you can see my thrusters are firing, but I'm docked. So it's true that there's no physical connection here, but you know, it's a video game. You kind of have to use your imagination. Oops, I switched cameras. I don't have these cameras to a hotkey. So here you can see my astronaut with the FPV gear. But I just think it's fun that you can now kind of set up a camera somewhere. So if you set up a course and you set up the camera to view maybe the course from an angle, and you were really, you know, important about trying to fly around through this little camera here, then you would be able to kind of fly the whole course